Good afternoon. It is 4 o'clock in the Eastern Caribbean and 3 o'clock in Jamaica, and I think it's also 3 p.m. in New York City. And welcome to this Facebook Live edition of Let's Talk Access, a social media program produced and presented by the UWI Open Campus. I am your host, Cleveland Sam. Thank you for joining us wherever you are in the Caribbean or in the Caribbean diaspora on this sunny afternoon in Barbados. Today, we focus on a very special program that the University of the West Indies Open Campus and the State University of New York at Empire College are offering, the Certificate in Leadership for Sustainable Development. And I have three special guests today, and they're going to be taking you through this program. Ms. Keon Dean, and she is the program manager in the Academic Programming and Delivery Division at the UWI Open Campus. Welcome, Keon.
Thank you for having me, Cleveland.
All right, we have Dr. David Smith, and he's the director for the Center for Environmental Management and also the coordinator for the Institute for Sustainable Development at the UWI at the University of the West Indies. Dr. Smith, welcome to Let's Talk Access.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
And our guest from New York is David Angelo, and he's the chair, Graduate Liberal Arts and Sciences Division at the State University of New York. Welcome, Dr. Angelo.
Thank you, Cleveland. Good afternoon.
All right, I think, oh, there you go. There you go. So we're going to have a nice chat with you guys this afternoon about this program. It seems very exciting from looking through the program. But Dr. Smith, I want to start with you. You play a very important role in the university, your position as the coordinator for the Institute of Sustainable Development, a huge burden, I imagine. And I know you want to start us off by putting this whole thing in context with a video presentation. So go right ahead.
Thanks very much. Just let's take a quick look at this video, which talks about the Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, thank you.
Very powerful indeed. Very powerful indeed, Dr. Smith. You want to just contextualize that for us?
Yes. As we started looking to try to get rid of poverty and the problems of the world by setting up the Millennium Development Goals, and we replaced those in 2015. And what we're really trying to do is to improve the well-being of people on the planet. We're trying to remove absolute poverty from the face of the earth. And we've gone partway. We need to finish that job. We need to make sure that women and girls, no matter where they are on the planet, have access to good quality education. We need to make sure that people are not in a situation where they have to struggle to find food to feed themselves. And that if they are finding food, that food is good for them. There are a lot of people who have access to food, but that food will guarantee them a life of diabetes or other diseases that are caused by access simply to bad quality food. We want to be sure that the inequities that are currently around are gone. There are a couple of barriers. Let's just think, 4 barriers to getting towards sustainable development. If we think of them, they'd be waste, inequality, climate change, and biological diversity loss. The waste problem is so bad that we're looking at likely seeing more plastic waste in the oceans than living fish within the next decade or so. We've put so much plastic into our oceans and plastic into our rivers and plastic pretty much everywhere. We're a very wasteful society as a whole. We've even seen evidence that plastic has gotten into the human food chain. So people are finding microplastic in human feces, which shows that the only way you got it was because you ate something which had plastic in it. That's not something I think that we all want to contemplate, but it's reality. As far as inequality is concerned, COVID has shown us inequality is rampant even in the most progressed societies on the planet. And the way in which we deal with inequality between countries, within countries, really we have to make a change because it's holding back improving well-being for everybody. We're aware of the climate change problem. We see spectacular stories of fires in California, drought in Africa. We are worried about the rainforests in Congo and Brazil burning. We see these tropical storms and cyclones. One of the things we look at sometimes is that we look at Sandy, which started just south of Jamaica and then made its way across Jamaica and then Cuba and through the Bahamas, then up the eastern coast of the United States and finally hit New York. That was a single storm that unfortunately united all of us. But those storms are going to continue, they're going to get worse. We saw what happened in Puerto Rico and Hispaniola and the Eastern Caribbean in 2017. And in terms of losing biodiversity, 75% of the crops that provide us with food absolutely require pollinators, which are animals, either insects or bats or other kinds of animals. Without that, the 75% of our food crops just aren't going to work. So we absolutely need to take care of sustainable development. We absolutely need, if we are going to continue moving, living, having being and enjoying our lives, or if we're going to try and make sure that people can get to the point where they can enjoy their lives and have well-being, we've got to fix those problems. And what we try to cover in this course is all the different ways that we can address that, from looking at the global problems and planetary boundaries, all the way down to working at your community and working in your community to make a difference.
All right. So Dr. Smith, you have painted a fairly daunting picture of the globe, which is a very realistic picture as well. Dr. Angelo, is this the motivation behind this particular program that we are offering, the Certificate in Leadership for Sustainable Development?
Well, first of all, Dr. Smith, thank you for that video, that very impactful video, and your description of what's going on in the world. I think it's quite accurate. there's a little question that sustainability and sustainability-related issues are the order of the day. The planet is clearly in trouble, as you have so graphically pointed out. So we do need to deal with sustainability, and to me, and I think there's a lot of literature to support this, this means two things. Number one, protecting the planet from further degradation to the extent that that's possible. Some scientists think that there's no way that that can be done, or we will soon approach the point at which that can no longer be done. So protecting the planet against degradation is a critical concern. But also, and you touched on this, Dr. Smith, ensuring a modicum of fairness in the way that we deal with each other is part of dealing with sustainability. Yes, we have to protect the planet, but we also have to ensure that the world is fair. It can't be to all of its citizens. It can't be sustainable if it's not fair. So that means that we need an arrangement in which we don't have unbridled trade, creating increasingly uneven income. As you know from the recent work of Piketty and Sayez, so income in the United States, for example, proceeds full speed ahead, or proceeds, its increase proceeds full speed ahead, and yet there are people who have no food. They are food deprived. That means that they may know where their meal will come from today, but don't necessarily know that they'll be eating next week. We need arrangements in the world in which poor countries are not expected to pay an outsized share for dealing with, say, sustainability problems. We need to stop kicking the can down the road, meaning making future generations responsible for dealing with sustainability, or passing the cost off to future generations. So sustainability means dealing with all of that. And this program, Cleveland, to answer your question, is really a call to action. It's a response to these problems and a call to action to deal with these problems. And our goal in the program is to essentially empower students to respond to this call of action in a variety of ways that we can talk about as this conversation proceeds. But that's the big picture.
All right, thank you very much. Keon Dean, you are the program manager for the certificate in leadership for this sustainable development. Can you give us some idea of the structure of the program?
Okay, sure. So this program, it's actually a 15 credit program. There are 5 courses in the program. 2 courses are from UWI and 3 courses are from SUNY. So students are exposed to orientation after they're accepted, to orientation on both platforms so that they become familiar with both learning spaces. So a student who starts in January, they will take 1 course from UWI and they'll take 1 from SUNY. Then the rest of the program, then they'll do 2 from SUNY, and then the final course they'll do from UWI.
Okay, so it's really a joint program in all sense of the word.
Yes.
And what about, any one of you can respond to this, what about the actual delivery of the program and the lecturing of the program, Dr. Smith or Dr. Angelo? I imagine you guys are intimately involved in this aspect. How is that delivered?
Well,
yeah, we both teach courses in the program. There are other people as well, other faculty members as well who have courses in the program. But the courses are all online and managed just completely at a distance. I don't know if we use a Moodle platform. I think you do as well for course delivery. So students from either institution can, slip right into the courses being done at the other institution.
Okay,
yes,
good.
we are online as well, fully online. It's continuous assessment, no final exam, and we do use Moodle as well.
Okay, great. So the students navigate the same, basically the same platform on both SUNY and Open Campuses systems.
Right.
And Kian, maybe you can also tell us this here. When, let's say I have done this program, when I complete this program, do I get a UE joint SUNY certificate, or do I get two pieces of paper?
Yes, absolutely. It's a joint program. So you get your certificate will have both UE and SUNY on it.
All right, international collaboration. Isn't that part of sustainable development too, Dr. Smith?
Well, that's very, very important part of sustainable development. We can't do sustainable development without working throughout all the different countries and working in different communities as well. So yeah, this program is very much a part of that.
Well, I'm really happy to have two of the faculty members for the program, because generally we have people like Keon who are program managers, but you, Dr. Smith and Dr. Angelo, are actual content specialists in this regard. And therefore, I'm going to try and get into actually some of the nitty-gritty. Tell us, what are the students actually learning when they sign up for this program?
Maybe I'll start. We talk a lot about the different aspects of sustainable development and what it depends on. So if you think about the problems that I'd mentioned earlier, those four big problems of waste, inequality, climate, and biodiversity, then what happens? How do we approach that? How do we fix it? It may be that some people in some countries are particularly concerned about poverty, or we might be concerned about education, or we might be concerned about gender disparities and so on. The wisdom is at the moment, though, that we shouldn't focus on just a single problem or a single goal, because everything is interconnected. And what happens is, if you try to pursue just one goal or one problem without paying attention to how it's linked to all the other problems, you can end up sometimes not making the progress you want, and also causing problems in other areas, and sometimes making everything move backwards. So one of the things I talk about is how can we link, where can we focus on, if you want to transform the world, where would you start? And we can think of maybe 6 areas. One is improving human well-being and improving the capacity of human beings. We look at as well economies, trying to make sure that economies are much more just and much more workable for everybody. We look at the food system and how that affects climate, and how it's affected by climate, and how getting food to everybody is an extremely important thing, that it affects so many other things like the consumption of energy and the consumption of water. We look at urban development and peri-urban settlements and how that relates to healthy communities and functional communities. And of course, we talk about what we refer to as things like the global commons, the oceans, the atmosphere, all the aspects of the planet which really set a boundary on how many resources we have that we can use, because we haven't yet figured out how, for example, to make enough oxygen to breathe if we run out of it yet. So there are actual boundaries, and our job really is to figure out how can we make well-being absolutely great for everybody within the boundaries that the planet has set for us. And so we talk a lot about that, and we talk about the roles that individuals can play and the roles that communities can play, and hopefully the way that graduates will be able to help fix and address those problems.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'd like to add to that by saying that we think of this union between the University of the West Indies and the State University of New York as a very powerful one for two primary reasons. First of all, students from all over the globe are coming together to solve a common problem, students and faculty as well. And that powerfulness, if you want to call it that, is leveraged by each institution bringing its unique strengths to the program. So at ESC, we will offer these courses. I think Ms. Dean has already mentioned them: principles of community and economic development, leadership for public and nonprofit organizations, and stakeholder sensitive business models. And what we're stressing in those courses is transformational leadership, focusing on the unique strengths of the nonprofit sector in solving social problems. So we bring to the table skills in inculcating leadership and concepts relating to leadership, whereas UWI, or the University of the West Indies, brings to the table what I would call, and I think you're probably convinced by having listened to Dr. Smith speak, the technical heft. We have no illusions about that. You know, the UWI folks, if you'll pardon me for using the acronym, are the technical specialists on the environment. We're all about change and change agency.
All right, sounds really exciting, and so the name of the program speaks to leadership. How is the leadership aspect of the course? How does that come through?
Well, we have two courses in, you know, as I might have mentioned, in the program, which deal specific, well, one course anyway, which is focused totally and completely on leadership, and that's leadership for public and nonprofit organizations. And essentially, we look at leadership theory in that course. What is a leader? What does a leader do? And of course, we're hoping in that through that course to help move people toward transactional or transformational leadership as opposed to transactional leadership. Managers, I consider to be transactional leaders. They do things following rules and regulations, operating within policy. Transformational leaders do work that leads to new policy that managers
Push the envelope.
Would follow. Sorry?
The push the envelope.
Yes, right, exactly.
Okay. You mentioned that each institution, that is the University of the West Indies Open Campus and State University of New York Empire College, they bring their particular strengths. What, Dr. Smith, are the technical competencies or concepts that the UWI is bringing to this program?
I would say that scientists at the UWI throughout its, we have 5 landed and 1 virtual campus now, are working on a variety of different aspects of this. we're looking at climate change. There are scientists who are working on figuring out exactly what the climate is going to be looking like over the course of the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. We have scientists who are working on how social dynamics play out in terms of gender. So we have an Institute of Gender and Development Studies, and trying to figure out how does that very, very important complexity of how people's gender roles play out in society and how that affects their well-being, how it affects their access to the ability to make a living. We have people who are working on the biological aspects of, say, oceans, and we're looking as well at how disasters may play out in terms of things like tropical cyclones and droughts. So I think probably you could mention almost any sustainable development problem, and you will find people within the university who are working on it, and working on it not just by themselves within, say, the small island developing states context, but also working with people around the world. So we, for example, work with the Sustainable Development Solutions Network, which is based at Columbia University in the United States. And we are looking at sustainable development problems there as well. This is a group of universities around the world specifically tied into trying to look at and solve sustainable development problems and work with the UN to provide solutions to the UN to help those problems be solved and addressed. So I think you'll find a very strong group of professionals at the UWI, but also people who are working in transdisciplinary and multidisciplinary groups with specialists around the world. And that's kind of what we bring to the table.
Dr. Angelo, from the SUNY side?
Well, as I mentioned, I hate to use the word soft skills, but because it seems a little bit demeaning, because all the sciences are important and I think have an equal place in the pantheon of scientific inquiry. You know, whatever the inquiry may be, but again, we don't have specialists in climate. Our faculty largely focuses on, you know, as I might have mentioned, you know, change agency. If we can turn out, you know, people who understand the decision-making process and making decisions within a political environment and securing change within a political environment and advocating for the disenfranchised of the world, well, then we've been successful. That's what we do. And by the way, I guess I should add that my own course, Principles of Community and Economic Development, is built on the principles of inclusion, or it advocates. Not everybody would accept these principles as their guiding principles, but inclusion, people should be involved in decisions about their lives and decisions that impact their lives first and foremost. And decisions that impact people's lives should result in equitableness, meaning that a situation in which income is increasingly lopsided is just not right. It's not morally right.
Acceptable, yeah.
And it's not a sustainable arrangement.
All right.
So that's essentially what that course is about. I'm sorry to talk over you. Essentially, we're looking for new approaches, and yes, we are trying to press the envelope.
Okay, great. So bringing together the strengths of two institutions, one in New York and one in the English-speaking Caribbean. Great stuff. Kian, I mean, you've been sitting there for a while, so I'm going to call on you now a little bit to come up.
No, it's good listening to the experts talking.
Kian Dean is the program manager for this certificate in leadership for sustainable development. So tell us a bit more about the program. You said that it's 5 courses, and how long is the duration of this program?
It's 1 year, 2 semesters, and a summer.
Right, so that's the minimum, but can students take it over a longer period of time? Because I know the open campus tends to be very flexible.
Well, if for some reason a student is not able to continue everything, then yes, they can take a course at another time when it's available and being offered.
Right, and you mentioned there is no final exam. So what is the type of assessment that the students would do? I mean, I'm sure David and Angela can fill in here as well, but what type of assessment can students expect?
They are engaging discussions, different portfolios, presentations. Dr. Smith and Angelio can say what else.
Yeah, I would say as well, presentations are very important. Preparing papers, for example, as a final aspect of one of the courses, students would have to take an issue which they feel strongly about and prepare a policy brief for a policymaker or somebody in a decision-making position to be able to move forward on that. So that might be one of the kinds of assessments that they have to do. Joe, I think you had some as well.
Yeah, it would be difficult to characterize in a sentence or two the assessment instruments that we use in 3 courses, but I can tell you in mine, I am a big believer in journalizing for a variety of reasons. There are academic reasons, there are non-academic reasons, but academically, journaling helps a student to engage the reading in a more complete sense than ordinarily happens. I mean, I don't know if your experience is similar, but few students read a textbook cover to cover. And in fact, a few students read textbooks. I don't know how to say this delicately. They don't read a lot. Let's put it that way. Well, when you're doing a journal, you don't have a whole lot of choice. You just have to read the textbook. And the journal as well kind of forces you to engage the material in the textbook because whatever the material is, doesn't have to be a textbook. I use a lot more than textbooks. I have students use all kinds of media, and they maintain a journal on their observations. I have them summarize and react to the summaries. So it is a deep engagement that allows me to see what is going on in a student's mind. You know, they ask questions, they make comments, they express aha moments a lot. Gee, this never dawned on me. That kind of thing. And it also gets them to ponder their own values. That's a lot, but that's what journaling does, all of that. And that's the reason that I use it. It seems intuitively easy to students. Oh, I'm going to do a journal. That's easy, great. But actually, it's very hard because, again, you're now saying to a student, well, you're going to engage the material, and that's the way it should be. So that's for full disclosure. But I think having said that, students enjoy the experience. If they didn't enjoy it as well, I think everything in life has to have some joy in it. If it doesn't, then you need to change your approach. So far I've gotten good reviews on journaling.
Awesome. And yeah, I know some people love journaling, some don't, as you said, the reading of the material, but yeah. All right, so we have spoken a lot about the structure of the program and what is actually taught, but who is this program really for? Keon, you have seen at least 1 or 2 cohorts come through. What type of individual typically is applying to this program? All right, it seems as if Keon has a problem. Joseph
Yes.
and David, in terms of who would you say the program is targeted at?
Some of the students I've seen were people who are very interested in sustainable development and were interested then in being able to do something about problems they saw in their country or within their community. We have set it up, and I think we targeted not just people who wanted to be able to change things at the local level, but also people who may want to change things at the national or international level. So it would be a course that would be suitable, for example, for somebody who is interested in going into public service, working for government or working in the international part of government, for example, as well as somebody who might be interested in trying to solve problems that are at their community level, their town level, the level of their city. One of our students from, I think, the first cohort, I think, went on to do a higher degree at a university in Europe in the same area of working on sustainable development. And so we're, I think, looking at people who are very interested in how sustainability can be brought to pass in a variety of different situations, and really trying to get solutions on the ground.
Yes, I can add to that by telling you about my students who have gone through this particular program, and then comment a little bit more broadly as well about whom the program should appeal to or would appeal to. I have had a community advocate. In fact, I think that community advocate may be listening in right now, and if he is, we'll probably hear from him. I've had a county executive director, meaning person who is ultimately responsible for economic development, and a subset of that would be sustainable development. And I have had, there's Ms. Dean, she's back, and I've had a housing director, a public housing director. So those are the students I've had, but there is work for, at least in the United States, for people in sustainable development in the government. I mean, there are many agencies employ people involved in economic development and sustainable development in various ways. In the not-for-profit sector, there are organizations such as the oh goodness, AmeriCorps, you know, hires people in economic development to do work in the States and in other countries. A lot of it focusing on sustainable development, and business itself, consulting organizations like the Boston Consulting Group, you know, Bain and Bain also hire people who are expert in sustainable development because of all the projects they're in. So there are jobs, across the three sectors. And so many jobs, it would be difficult in this conversation to name them all. There are many, many different titles, urban planner, economist, and on and on.
All right, great. So the scope is very wide.
It is indeed.
Keon, welcome back. I know the internet sometimes does this. We were asking you in terms of the profile of the students who have gone through the program so far, any particular characteristic that you can share with us?
We haven't seen one specific group of persons. We have seen a wide range. So we have seen from persons in the health industry, economists, teachers, client relations officers, all of that. So they're all over. Your mic is off, Cleveland.
There you go. We have a couple of questions from our Facebook page. I think you have answered a couple of them already, Keon, but just so that our viewers can ensure that they have the information. One was the duration of the program. And I think you were saying that can be 1 year to probably 1 year and a semester and so on.
Yes, it's usually 1 year, 2 semesters and a summer.
Right.
The students initially they take 2 courses at first, then they take 2 again. So 2, 1 with UWI, 1 with SUNY, and then 2 with SUNY, and the final one is with UWI.
Right. And they also wanted to know what, could you give the names of the 5 courses? Do you have those at hand? Okay,
sure, I can give the name of those. There's the advanced concepts in sustainable development. Let me just pull them up, though, Cleveland.
No problem.
I have them here if that would help.
Okay.
Okay, the ES, the Empire State College courses include principles of community and economic development, leadership in public and nonprofit organizations, and stakeholder-sensitive business models. The UWI courses include advanced concepts for sustainable development. I believe that's David's.
Yes.
And policy formation, governance, and ethics is the other.
Okay, great. And I guess this person probably joined us late when Keon was explaining this, but they were asking, are the courses self-paced or are they live lectures?
They're self-paced. Anything we use is asynchronous.
Okay.
What you'll find is that I will sometimes do a couple of synchronous at the beginning just to get people started, but it's self-paced in the sense that you've got a semester to finish the course.
Yes. And there are actually deadlines when they're to complete their assignment. So they just pace themselves and submit online.
Right.
That's right. But I can tell you my own approach, because there would be 4 other faculty members, so they have their own approaches as well, is to recognize that be difficult, David, I'm sure now for you to say, no, I don't do that, but we try to be sensitive to what's going on in the world. And I can tell you I've extended so many extensions to people who tell me that, they're struggling to stay afloat. And so, we have the luxury, I guess we could say it more strongly, we really have the obligation to be sensitive to what's going on, and we are.
Right.
I'm sure you guys are too.
There's definitely flexibility, and I think the fact that it is online and was obviously online before the pandemic allows for people to be able to get access to the information, download things if they need to, and very often you can link to material right on the site there. You click on it, download it, and then read it and summarize it, either for journaling or in some cases for my assignments, you might have to summarize and compare with other journal articles and so on. So the material is there and it's available online. And even if somebody doesn't have a great internet connection, as long as they can occasionally get onto the internet and download when they need to, then they should be able to move ahead with stuff even without a good quality internet connection all the time.
Great.
I
Dr.
would say the same. I'm sorry to talk over you again.
It's okay.
The same applies to our courses as well. Yes, you need access to the internet, but you don't need anything fancy. So thank you. Thanks for that.
Right. There is a specific question here for you, Dr. Angelo. With respect to your journals, do you provide questions to guide the process of journaling for your students?
I can provide and do provide samples of journals that people have done in the past with their permission so that students can get an idea of what a good journal is like. But no, I think I am not, I don't mean to be disrespectful to the person who's asking the question, but I don't want to be presumptuous and tell people what the questions are. You know, I'd rather that they identified the questions that are important to them. And if they're, you know, missing something, I'll comment. I react to journals. I write a journal on the journal. So.
Okay. Lots of journaling going on. Keon, in terms of students who are interested in this program, what are the requirements, the admission requirements for the program?
Anyone with a first degree with honors who is interested in sustainable development can apply to the program. All
right. And what's the application deadline for, I imagine we're offering this in January 2021?
Yes, well, application is open now and the deadline is December 4th. So you can start applying now. The application process is very simple. You go to open.uwa.edu/apply. After you're finished applying, you submit all your documents to the Open Campus. All students apply through the Open Campus. So you submit the documents to the Open Campus at graduate.open.uwa.edu, and then you await your acceptance.
Simple and easy like that.
Yes.
Okay. And of course, the magic question, Keon, is the cost. Can you give us an idea of what the program costs?
Okay, sure. So for Caribbean students, it is $476 per credit. Remember that each course is 3-credit course, and for international students, it is $570. So the role would switch. So SUNY students would pay the $476, and then when they come for our courses, they pay the $570. Our students pay the $476. When they're doing SUNY's courses, they pay the $570, and that's per credit.
Okay, all right, that is very simple. I hope that understand that it's a joint program, so students from the Caribbean are considered international students when they are doing the SUNY courses, and vice versa. The students from the international are considered international students when they're doing the courses offered by the Open Campus. Did I get that right?
Yes,
Okay.
And the information is also on our website, open.uwa.edu, and they just find the financial information.
All right. Of course. And so we have the costs of the program. We spoke about the assessment, and the application period, we said, ends on the 4th of December. All right. And we spoke about some of the persons who are entering the program now, but would the program help persons to be more employable? Gentlemen?
Well, that is certainly the hope, that people would be more employable. I had mentioned that that there are jobs of various descriptions in government, in the nonprofit sector, and the business sector as well. They all have a need for economic developers or people who are involved in development in one way or another, including sustainable development. So I'm anticipating that while the demand for developers has kind of grown here in this country apace with the economy, and there's an expectation that the need for economic developers would grow right along with the economy, I'm anticipating that there will be a screaming need for people, even a greater need for people in this area than has been so far recognized. Especially, well, again, I'm speaking largely from the American perspective. You know, here in this country, we have a new administration, as you may know, and I read in the newspaper this morning about new cabinet folks who are being appointed, and things are looking really good for this country getting back into the business of climate change.
Yeah.
Notable, by the way, is John Kerry. You may recall was a previous Secretary of State, or state under a previous administration. He ran for president himself, so he's going to be working in the new president's National Security Council. And his role is essentially to put climate change on the agenda in what the president calls the Situation Room. So, you know, the time has come for this. You know, so I'm expecting there'll be an increasing demand for people in this area. And I'm sorry, the country has begun to invest more in alternative sources of energy, and that augurs well for employment in this area as well.
Well, I'm sure Dr. Smith will agree with me that we'll be very happy to welcome you back to the Paris Accord.
Yes.
Thank you. It's nice to be back.
All right, gentlemen and lady, we have just about 6 minutes, so I'm going to give you each a minute to wrap up with some comments. It has been a really informative session thus far, and I really hope that persons across the region, across the United States and the diaspora will take the opportunity to apply for this certificate in leadership in sustainable development. So David, why don't you go first, since you started first?
Okay, thanks very much, Cleveland. Sustainable development is absolutely vital. We're going towards 2030. This is the decade where we have to get everything right so that we can eliminate absolute poverty throughout the world and get rid of all these inequalities and so on, which seem to be coming up to be we're aware of it now that COVID has sort of ripped off the veneer of civilization that we were looking at before. I think this program will help people to understand the problems, but also be able to get skills to do something about solving them, and be able to work either in government, definitely in the not-for-profit sector, not just in the United States, but also within the Caribbean as well. And I say that as somebody who worked for a decade in a not-for-profit in Jamaica, working on sustainable development issues for the environment. So there are jobs out there, the skills are needed. We know that the world needs these kinds of skills. So I would very much encourage people to take the program and then go out there and help to solve the problems.
Thank you very much, Dr. David Smith. Dr. Angelo?
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, there are two things that really excite me about this this program. One is the opportunity that it provides to begin to close the door on neoclassical economics, which has just relegated so many people to lives of misery. Yes, we've made some progress, as Dr. Smith's YouTube earlier, a video earlier has demonstrated, but there's a lot of misery in the world. So this program takes on, that narrow view and tries to broaden that view. The second thing is the timeliness of it. If we're not addressing the issue of sustainability now, we may never get the opportunity to address the issue of sustainability. As I said in earlier remarks, we may be at the point of no return, or close to the point of no return. No one's sure, but we do know that the Earth's temperature keeps rising. We do know the sea level is rising, land is eroding, land forests are disappearing, as Dr. Smith pointed out so eloquently. So it's time for us to be earnest about this issue. And this program is just one manifestation of that, the commitment to have a different world.
Thank you so much, Dr. Angelo. Keon Dean, you're the program manager. This thing is in your hands to execute and implement. Your final words.
All right, sustainable development is very important. So why not come to the University of West Indies and SUNY to learn about the basic concepts underlying economic development and how they play out in real world situations. Remember, application closes December 4th, so apply now. And we also just want to let you know that our master's program for the sustainable development will be starting next September. So if you're interested in that, you can start the certificate in January and you can transfer to the master's program. All right, wow. So we look forward to seeing a lot of applicants.
Thank you so much. And there's something special to look forward to as well. When you have completed the certificate, you can move on, transition, transfer to the master's program come September 2021. So thank you so much for joining us today and making this program a success. Special thanks to my panelists, Ms. Keon Dean, Program Manager in the Academic Programming and Delivery Division at the UWI Open Campus, Dr. David Smith, and he is the Director for the Center of Environmental Management and also Coordinator of the Institute for Sustainable Development at the University of the West Indies, and Dr. Joseph Angelo, and he's Chair of the Graduate Liberal Arts and Sciences Division at SUNY Empire State College. Thank you so much as well to the team that made this possible. The technical team in the background, Patrick Johnson, David Foster, and Marcia Reed for handling all the questions and queries. Until next time, I am your host, Cleveland Sam. Goodbye.
Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.